if you asked Americans, look, this is a lot of money, but if you could guarantee, or at least almost guarantee, stability and democracy in the region, is it worth it? Americans would probably say yes. I just think there's a skepticism as to whether that would be the end result.
Well, look at what's happened in Egypt. There's no guarantee. I mean, I just found $10 billion out of this money for the state of Illinois. I mean, and basically what happens is I understand the defense mechanisms that we need to protect. But we're wasting a lot of this money, and how much of this money is deciphered out that people that don't need it are absolute fraud. I mean, that's what goes on behind the scenes, and what, 6% made it into their hands that we were really using? 94%? Come on. Dr. Keckley, 52% of all collections on people's credit reports are medical. According to the Commonwealth Fund, 73 million Americans are struggling in the form of medical collections, uninsured, insured. But isn't a solution when you walk out of a hospital, a doctor's office, or a lab, that there's a checkout line like when you walk out of a grocery store? You get a detailed bill, and all of a sudden you pay that bill at that time? Half the confusion is this is a bill. This is not a bill. The insurance should cover it. And the number one problem that the president of the American Medical Association said last year was we have billing errors. So what's the solution for this?
Well, you're spot on. Deloitte research this year showed $363 billion that consumers spend about which they're completely unaware, on top of what's reported by the government. So, yeah, transparency of cost and pricing in this industry is a real problem, and it's not easily solved because a healthcare provider doesn't know the signs and symptoms and comorbidities and risk factors before you're presented in the emergency room or the doctor's office. So it would be nice if our pricing was simple, but it isn't. It would be nice if transparency worked. It hasn't. We've had that in place in states like California, New York, Florida, and Pennsylvania. So it's more complicated than simply making something more transparent.
Dan, what's the average rate that you guys are paying on pensions? Because does it make you upset as a treasurer that you just find out this week that the Federal Reserve lends the banks $30 billion at 1 penny, but you're paying astronomical rates? And what could you do if you were borrowing money at 1 penny, and how much money could you build back? And second question, did the housing market crisis, when all of a sudden that hit, how much did that affect the bottom line?
Well, here, the first part is if Illinois' rating, because of Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch, the average at that has Illinois just above the state of California as far as the worst rated and the liability. And if we were to go into, for example, there was a bond issuance in Illinois last month at $3.7 billion. And at that, if we were in the state of Kentucky, we would be paying a cumulative 17% less interest. State of Michigan, 34%. State of Washington, 41%. As far as the housing crisis, that helped. That impacted somewhat the overall economics to it. But really, what it gets down to, I mean, we can look at housing, we can look at unemployment, all of those things. What it gets down to is the fact that we have gone so far into borrowing in the state of Illinois that it is almost incomprehensible how we're going to get out of it. In 2002. The general obligation bond debt in the state of Illinois was $12 billion. Now, in 2011, we're at $45 billion. Now, here's the scarier part about it is that $26 billion of that $45 billion, so about 57%, was borrowed GO bonds just to put into the pension liability, to put into the pension funds. It didn't go for bricks and mortars and highways. It is the public policy direction this state's going in regards to debt is something that this state treasurer say has got to stop.
It's all about family. You're not going to discount the family. You're not going to go cheap on Memorial Day. And Fixin, being from Texas, I can't wait because I know my wife will make the most incredible spread for Monday.
Yep.
We'll have a ton of people over, and that's what Memorial Day is all about.
All right, quickly, too, on this, just from your own personal experience, are you cutting back? I mean, your family's cutting back, people you know cutting back, not just Memorial Day, but in general on restaurant consumption, food consumption yet? Are you at that point?
Over the last 1 year to 2 years, everybody's cut back that I know of.